think about your body. And right now, move every area you can move. Like just start at your toes. Wiggle your toes a little bit. Start rolling your ankles. You know, flex and bend your knee. Flex and bend your hip in and out. Your hip moves. It's a round. It's a ball joint. You know, your pelvis, your spine can flex and extend and laterally flex. Our shoulders can move. Our wrists can move. Our hands can move. Neck. I can't even get my forehead to move. That's a trick for everyone. Our jaw moves, right? Your eyes, your eyes move side to side, up and down. Your eyes work in lots of different directions. Your eyes are, they say a great word with the soul, but your eyes are very, very special of trying to rehab your brain into challenging your eyes, what we call this convergence, near and far gazing. Sometimes people do that little H pattern. Following that with your eyes and not your head can actually stimulate parts of your brain. So sometimes we go to the far ends. That helps. So what can we move? Almost everything we can move of our bodies. So why is there a law for movement? Well, our creator did not intend for us to not move, or we wouldn't have all these joints. We would just be a brain on top of, I don't know, maybe feet, maybe not. Maybe we would just imagine through life. Somehow we would be fed without, moving. I don't know. But we have these joints because we're built to move, and movement nourishes the body. I want to bring this up for a moment. I want to see if I can't see this. So when we exercise joints and the muscles sufficiently, all of them, the nutrition we get from our food, which is a whole nother law that we talked about last month, if we get nourishing food, then we can distribute it through our body when we move. And I know this, to me, even as a physician, I look at this, I say, I mean, the blood pumps, the heart's pumping, even if I'm not moving per se, and it's going to distribute nutrition. But think about this. Every cell and tissue of the body is going to require energy. And if I'm not moving it, it's not asking for much. There's very little need there. So if we don't use it, we lose it. And if we need our nutrition to be distributed throughout our body and given to every single cell, we best challenge all those cells. From the brain to the blood vessels, that's all challenging every time we move. And if you think about it, if someone becomes overweight, starts to gain a significant amount of weight, and they're inactive, their weight is probably not distributed very well at all. And you've seen these people. And that has to do with the fact that the body is not moving. If you're moving and challenging it, even if you have some extra weight, it's going to be more evenly distributed because your body must distribute things. That's just a law. So when we cease movement, we cease to care for our joints intelligently, and we're not distributing this nutrition that we're getting. What's the perfect type of exercise? I've been asked probably a million times these things, right? I think everyone should run marathons and never stop doing push-ups. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. What exercise in and of itself can be dangerous. A lot of dangerous. I mean, heck, me and a fellow are having a conversation just today, and how a certain amount of exercise seems good, but too much seems not so good. Certain kinds and intensities of movement. So movement exercise cannot be prescribed to everyone the same type for everybody. We're all individuals. Exercise can be dangerous, but I'm not here to tell you not to exercise. I think if we go back to the environment that we live in, it's unnatural at this point. We don't live in a natural environment. So we must remember that we have kind of trained ourselves to work typically in a sedentary way. I think 60, 70, maybe more than that percent of America works in front of a computer. And majority of us have this forward head posture, which is a big thing we talk about with your x-rays and trying to improve. But that position does not allow for much movement. So we have to artificially start to move our bodies in ways that we're not during the day most of the time. So I would say that the majority of people would benefit from exercise, but let's call it natural movement, because I think that prescribing to a specific program may not be very scientific for everybody. We're all slightly different. So the first step, if not moving your body well and frequently enough, is to start to prescribe to just moving our joints. But why we need to move them, it's so important because if we can listen to our bodies properly, the movement of our joints will let us know when things aren't well, not lined up, restricted, tight, stiff. All those things will be noticed when we move our joints. When we simply move them and loosen them, we will start to blow if there's areas that we're getting stuck in. That's one of the first points is why we move them, other than the nutrition, other than the fact that we have joints to move. That soreness is just part of us saying we hadn't moved that properly. So when you get stuck in a position or get sore, that tells us that you haven't been moving that joint properly. So let's all stand up for a moment. Let's just all stand up. I want everyone to move a little bit. Let's just follow through this little bit of a movement. So I want to go through just this basic movement for us. Let's start by just having your eyes and moving your eyes first. What I want you to do is to focus. You can put your finger kind of right in front of you on the computer. I want you to focus on your fingertip and then focus on the wall behind you. Fingertip, wall, fingertip, wall, fingertip, wall. I'm moving my eyes in that way. Now bring your fingertip close. Ooh, that might hurt. Bring it out. Close and out. And bring it side, side, up, down. You're just moving your eyes. Left, up, down. Those things are great. But you move your eyes until they're fatigued and you stop. That's why I'm moving. Now I want you to move your neck. Move your neck. Roll it in circles. Just feel it. Feel it. There's some spots that will catch it. Those are areas you need to gently work through, not into. Don't hurt yourself. Work into them. So up and down, side to side, left and right. Your jaw. You can translate it. Clench, open, clench, back and forth. All good movements. All good movements. Shoulders. Shoulders, just start moving them. Just circles, big circles. Then go the other direction with circles. Nice. Back and forth. Back, up and down. Just in any range you can imagine with your shoulders, you just move. Elbows, these are pretty simple joints. You can only move them up and down, right? But move them fully, all the way open. I can't tell you how many people from working computers get so tight in here. They need to open those up. Great stretch, just kind of getting on a table and leaning back there. Wrists, roll those in circles. Just move them. Move them. Up and down. You can even side to side and roll. Fingers, flex, extend. All those are great. We can go through the whole spine, just flex every single joint. Just imagine those opening. Every single joint. Extend. Flex it again. Good. Kind of go side to side with that. Very nice. Side to side. The last way is just rotation. Twist. Try to keep your pelvis stable. Twist. Twist. You might find you can't go both ways directions. So you start working into that sore one. Just working. Eventually, that distributes blood to the rest of your body. That was just the upper body. You can do the lower some other time. But just moving your body gets your blood flowing, connects your brain and your body together. And again, we need to move our joints because if we don't, they're going to become a problem and be stiff, restricted, and sore. So moving every joint every day. When should we do this? The wisdom of this book, The Rays of the Dawn, that we're going through, and Del, this is something that we do have in the office if you ever want to get it now. I've heard on Amazon it's really expensive. I would not buy it from Amazon. Even if you want it, I'll ship it to you. But this is, we're only selling for 15 bucks. But the wisdom of this health handbook would say that before you go to bed, it's probably the best time sometimes to just move your body around. It relaxes it. It relaxes it. Because our bodies have so much stress and tension we hold through the day. And if we go to bed without releasing some of that, We might not have the best sleep that we need to. We may have problems in our bodies more because we're not moving them all night either. So, end of the night, evening is wonderful. I think if you're trying to start a new habit, in my opinion, it has to be done in the morning. Ideally, I love to see this in the morning and night. That'd be ideal, in my opinion. Just moving that body when you wake up, moving those joints, and before you go to bed. Um, every day, though, every day. Um, if we were farmers, which were hunter gatherers, our ancestors probably had to move a lot more, and they were constantly up and moving and working on things just to survive. As our environments changed, became less natural for us, we moved a lot less. So people did not need to exercise to be fit back in those times. We do now. We do now. Um, how do I say this? When we're confined to cities, we buy our food instead of raising it or hunting. We ride in automobiles instead of walking or running. We stay up late instead of lying down to rest and sleep when darkness arrives. We eat artificial and dead, devitalized food instead of natural live food. Having reduced body movements to a minimum, which is what we have, we're compelled to resort to artificial movements. The first step is this natural movement exercise we're talking about. When you feel tired, when you feel tired with the movements, when you start to feel fatigued with them, with any of them, your eyes, your jaw, then you're done. And we need to remember this with exercise too, to some degree. We're really good at ignoring our body's signals, but we must listen. We can build on, we can get better, but we have to listen to them and work through them. But every day is so important. Every day. Every day is so important. Um, if you have arthritis and you have challenges that would concern you about exercise, just be very careful about what is being prescribed to do and listen to your body. Stay within the proper ranges that give you maybe a little discomfort. You work up to it, not through it. But if you keep working up to it a little bit at a time, you start to get a little further and a little further. But you have to keep working at it. You have to keep working at it. With the research that we've done, and I love this, just how simple this book breaks things down. Um, but if the research has been shown, if you're going to exercise, you're going to move your body in a systematic and scientific way that's evidence based. Number one thing that most research would show us is that 30 minutes of some aerobic cardiovascular exercise is really good, probably at least 4 days a week. So it's something getting your heart rate up a little bit. Even just going to walk, it would be good, but maybe a little bit more than that. There's also very good evidence that says that our cells crave and need resistance exercise. So body weights, anytime we're pushing or pulling, at this point, you go to a gym, you lift maybe weights or bands or machines, anything that challenges our muscles is very important because, again, our cells are waiting for a certain stimulation. If they don't get them, they shut down, they die off, they get smaller. The parts of our brain that are connected to those areas, it gets smaller. It shouldn't say smaller per se. It blends. So you don't have as much differentiation in your brain for like this specific part of your body. And that's where back pain is so tricky for us as doctors because your back has a very minute part of your brain that relates to your back in the sense of what you feel. Like, where is the pain? Where your lips and your hands like take up that much, and your back's like that little much. So we have a lot more sensation on these areas of sense rather than our back. So back pain is a crazy, very tricky thing, and almost always has connections to other emotional struggles as well. And it's all tied together. But move it, because you move it, you might move away some of those stresses you're holding. Um, so not only are those two things very important in exercise, the third thing that research has shown is a higher intensity interval type training every so often is really good. I mean, I know myself right now. I used to be able to run a mile, maybe in 5 minutes and 30 seconds when I was probably at my peak of fitness. And that kind of what my heart and lungs and all that needed to run a mile that quickly. Uh, by no means is my body attuned to do that quick anymore. By any means, I couldn't do it. But if I was continuing up with intervals and challenging my heart rate, even like usually interval training is minute and a half of rest. Let's say start with that just because I said that. Minute and a half rest, 30 seconds of intense interval training. You get your heart rate up higher, very high for a short amount of time, and then you rest for a minute and a half. If you do 10 cycles of that, typically that's 20 minutes of exercise. Only once a week, usually maybe two, is that necessary. This is probably like the last thing I talk about because I want those other things happening and getting your body fit and ready. You may not be doing any kind of movements, and so we want you to just start moving the body. Maybe you need to get out walking. Some of the prescriptions that I've seen that were great said the first thing you do when you're trying to start a new program of exercise or anything, getting up early to do something, whatever that something is you get everything prepared that you're going to get up that morning. You get dressed, you walk outside, and you take a breath and then you go back in. That's your day one, is you just get prepared to be up. And then you start building on that, getting up. Maybe you just walk to the first telephone pole, then you walk to the second, then you walk to the third. Eventually you're walking many telephone poles, and then maybe you start running in between one pole and another, and then you walk for a couple. This is how you build in our body, but it's just always challenging our bodies, always working at um, uh, at making sure that our body has some challenge. Our brains love a challenge, they love differences. Our brains do not like same every day. They start to die. If we don't use it, we lose it. I continue to say that. But complexity and change is really our bodies were built for adaptation to things. Subluxations, what we treat in this office when your body has been overwhelmed by stressors, be them physical, be them emotional, be them nutritional, things we're putting in our bodies become subluxated, which is really a condition of less light flowing through your body. It is dimmed. It's dysfunctioning. It's diseased. Subluxations are a factor that we see when our bodies aren't in balance. And we try to treat those to try to help correct it so that your body can be back with more light, more vitality. But just treating a subluxation doesn't correct the dysfunctions we live in. So the more that I see, the more I know there's stresses on you. And the less, the better we know we're doing. So moving the bodies all the time, we usually produce less of these subluxations. And ultimately, our goal is to try to help you to create less subluxations because that means then your body is living more vibrantly and more healthy.